A new battleground poll from Quinnipiac University shows Hillary Clinton losing momentum in crucial battleground states. She has a lead in Pennsylvania, but Trump is leading in Ohio. And the races for Florida and North Carolina are almost tied. Florida is crucial to Trump's electoral math. He spent Wednesday crisscrossing the state and hammering Clinton over the FBI inquiry into her email server.
Did you hear about this little event? The FBI reopening the investigation. They're reopening the investigation into crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked Hillary. She's crooked. If Hillary Clinton were to be elected, it would create an unprecedented and protracted constitutional crisis. Haven't we just been through a lot with the Clintons?
But Clinton is trying to change the subject, talking to voters about the choice they face on Tuesday.
Imagine that on January 20th, 2017, it is Donald Trump standing in front of our Capitol and taking the oath of office. Now, remember, because on January 20th, we are going to have a new president, and things are going to change, that's for sure. The question is, what kind of change are we going to have? Are we going to build a fairer, stronger, better America? Or are we going to fear the future and each other?
Leslie Sanchez is a CBSN political contributor and Republican strategist, and Lis Smith is a CBSN political contributor and Democratic strategist. All right, Leslie, let me start with you. What did you make there of Trump's comments, of the comments rather, that we have heard from Donald Trump about essentially trying to be this underdog, that pretend we're behind, was what we essentially heard from him
It's
today.
no pretend. He has been behind for a very long time. And the establishment's been against him. But, you know, it's of his own volition. It was something that he created. We know a couple of things to be true. One, the country was ready for an outsider, for somebody who was outside, that they fundamentally believe Washington is broken and can break it up, both on the Republican and Democratic side. But Donald Trump was never able to stay on message, never able to unite, never able to put the focus really where it needed to be, and that was on Hillary Clinton. And you're starting to see a shift. The biggest shift, though, is because over the last 2 weeks, he's closed the gap by 12 points. So that's really the first time you're starting to see that. So one, enthusiasm's on his side, and two, you're starting to see that communities of color, that Obama coalition is not as consistent and as solid as they had originally hoped.
Liz, I want to turn to something else. President Obama today seemed to criticize FBI Director Comey over his investigation of the handling of this Clinton letter. Let's listen.
I do think that there is a norm that, when there are investigations, we don't operate on innuendo, we don't operate on incomplete information, we don't operate on leaks. We operate based on concrete decisions that are made.
So, Liz, talk to us about the president's position here. I mean, he's obviously Clinton's surrogate, the biggest surrogate, really, that he has, but he also needs to avoid the appearance here of meddling in this investigation.
Yeah, and he is in a tough position, and he does need to thread the needle. I think he did it fairly skillfully in there. He praised Director Comey's integrity, but kind of made a veiled reference to the fact that the Director Comey's announcement came out without any new information, without knowing what was in these emails, and that it led to this rampant speculation on the part of Republicans and this campaign of innuendo from Donald Trump and his surrogates. So that's true. He is in a tough position because he's the president. He can't go out there and completely throw someone he appointed under the bus. So good job, I guess, for him. I don't know. It's really tough to know what to do in his position.
Leslie, you want to say something?
Well, yeah, no, it was really inconsistent. Yesterday, his White House spokesman says that he's not going to get engaged one way or the other, and that he is a man of integrity. And today he comes out, it looks very partisan, very political in trying to do this and protect certainly Hillary Clinton, and that's what it all looks like. At the same time, I don't think we can ignore that WikiLeaks comes out with this big story in Politico that under the Justice Department, the Assistant Attorney General had given a heads up up to the Clinton campaign in an email, on his private email, telling them that this is where this investigation was going. That's really where the suspicion is, and that's where the rub's going to be. You have people questioning, is it an issue of temperament versus corruption? And on that basis, you're starting to see the momentum of who is more trustworthy is tilting slightly to Donald Trump.
Yeah, and look, this drip, drip, drip has not been helpful for Hillary Clinton, nor has it been helpful for either the FBI or the Department of Justice or the Obama administration as a whole. But again, you know, we need to look at the larger picture here, and it's really incumbent upon her and her campaign to kind of switch the conversation and get the focus back on Donald Trump. This is a challenge, though, and as you said, I don't know what they've given him. I don't know what he's drinking, but Donald Trump has been as on message the last few days as he has been this entire campaign, and that's definitely benefiting him in the closing stretch.
You know, it's really, Liz brings up a really important point about the drip, drip, drip. You got to remember, right now there is such a low amount of confidence in public institutions, and what you don't really want to see is a political party attacking the FBI. I mean, the FBI is going to win, you know, in that battle, but just because they think that you're doing it for political motives days before an election.
Donald Trump attacked the FBI.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a winning strategy overall, and it didn't prove to do anything but red meat, kind of engage the base. But when you're talking particularly about women voters or folks that are on the fence, ticket splitters, they really trust third-party entities that they feel are going to be objective. They don't think the campaigns are going to be. They don't think individuals would be. But these types of law enforcement institutions have probably the last bit of credibility that they and the military are probably the two that stand the test of time with respect to that, and they're going to be able to look fair and objective, even though you do see Comey taking a lot of heat.
And it's not just, to be clear, it's not just Democrats attacking Comey in the wake of the letter. We have seen Senate Republicans, we've seen former Republican attorneys general come out against it. So there is some bipartisan grumbling about it.
So Liz, let me ask you this. Donald Trump made this tour of Michigan and Wisconsin. And now Hillary Clinton has added a stop in Michigan. Is Donald Trump essentially forcing Clinton to defend those states?
Well, I think there are two things. One, yes, but two, he knows that right now his path to 270 is pretty slim. So he's trying to expand the map and find additional states that he could potentially add to his column. And one thing that we've seen in this campaign is that in the Rust Belt, you know, which is sort of a derisive term, so I don't love to use it, but is that there has been a lot of frustration with the status quo, with the status quo of the economy as well. And that is why we saw Hillary Clinton lose in a stunning upset to Bernie Sanders during the primary. And the Clinton campaign is trying to kind of cover all their bases by investing now and preventing what happened in the primary from happening on November 8th.
She's right. You know, if you think about even the primary contest with Bernie Sanders, it was is Hillary Clinton beholden to Wall Street and the big banks and those special interests, or Main Street and the working American and the middle class? She tried to basically co-opt some of those ideas, but that's where it's interesting that Donald Trump has always consistently done very well when he's talking about trade, jobs going across U.S. borders, now into Mexico and into China. And he does have an advantage, and when we're looking at some of these polls, the economy is becoming front and center. So while she's talking about personal attacks on his character, which many he deserves, on the other hand, folks are really listening to who can really clear the decks, zero this game out in terms of suspicion of doing ill wrong, and really start focusing all their attention on the economy.
But you do have to admit that part of his strategy here is because right now he doesn't have a credible path to 270.
Oh, I think it's changing every day. Nobody would have thought that he would have made 12 points up in 2 weeks. Nobody would have thought he would be 6 points up in Nevada.
That's based on one poll. The polls are kind of
oh
all
my
over
God!
the place.
She's exactly right. But what is happening is people are shifting. So what we're looking
there's a little
enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm among the base of Republican. You're seeing a lot of Republican women come back into the fold, which we didn't know if they would do. Ticket splitters, they're still consistent there. We've got to get about 30% on the Republican side. But he's opening that door, and that 30% of conservative Democrat, disaffected white voters, particularly men, who live in these states, and you're seeing shifts in Pennsylvania. It's too hard to tell, but you've got some sense of momentum.
All right, to be continued. Leslie Sanchez,
got a lot to
Lis
say.
Smith, thank you both so much.